Hey, Jen.
Oh, hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Did you get my message about the documents being sent over to you that Maureen's going to ask you to pull up?
I did right now.
Angelica should have sent it over to you, but if not, let me know because then I can forward it to your email.
Yeah, will you just forward it to my Gmail? You can probably do that faster than I can do the log me in.
Let me see. One
Thank you.
second. Okay, she just sent it to you. I'm just going to forward her email to your Gmail, okay?
Gracias.
What was that?
Gracias.
Okay, I just forwarded them over to you.
Alrighty.
And Maureen's going to try to call in on her computer again, but we'll see if it works or not.
Okay. That sounds good. Let me refresh my inbox here. Could just be my country internet needs a minute here. I have the other documents too. Maybe I don't need this now. Come on.
Everything going okay, Jen? Okay.
I haven't got your email yet, but I'm waiting for it. I'm refreshing my inbox here. I'm going to jump over to my COE email and see if I can, I don't know, figure it out that way. I don't know why my Gmail, it just did this earlier this morning too. It just wasn't loading fast.
Hello.
Good morning, Kayvon.
Morning. It is.
It's 3 o'clock. Sorry. Good morning. It's Monday. This is Monday. Could be Monday.
Okay. How do I sound?
You're coming in loud and clear here. Vanessa, can you hear her too?
Yes, I can.
All right. I see that I can share my screen. So that's perfect.
Awesome.
Right. I'm ready to go. There is some insanely loud construction happening right outside my door. So, but if you guys can't hear it, that's good.
I have a similar project happening outside my door. It's loud, but I can't hear it out of yours. So hopefully we'll be all right. And you couldn't hear my sound earlier. So hopefully we'll be okay. All right, I'm gonna go try to find that email.
Yeah, can you hear them? You can?
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, West Coast. I wanted to say we're going to be starting in a couple of minutes. We're getting Maureen on the line here. So give us a couple of seconds. We'll get started. Thanks. All right, if you can't hear me, so I just jumped into the question and answer box. It looks like folks are having problems hearing. Is it working now? And if you could maybe type in that question and answer box, that'd be great. We're still getting going on, so it'll take us a minute to get started here. But thank you for your time. I appreciate it. The regional audio is bad. Okay. So I can do on mine here. Okay. Okay, let's try that. Is the audio any better on my end now, folks, to put in the question and answer? Still rough. All right. The chat is disabled, so hopefully that will put questions into the question and answer. I have refreshed my internet and we'll see what we can do. Let me check on something else real quick. Okay, I think I'm hopeful that me stopping the video will make my voice come through more clearly. I did a mic check and it seems to be working on this end. Mark, Laura, Melanie, some folks are helping me out here in the chat box. Ooh, all the way down. A lot of people are helping. Much better. Okay, thank you, Mara. This session today is definitely worth the wait. We have some really exciting things to share with you. We are getting Maureen on the line now, so bear with us, folks. Thanks for your patience, and we'll be right there. Okay, folks, we're still waiting. Thanks for your patience. You will want to stick around for this one. We've got some great information for you, but we're getting Maureen on. It should just be another minute or so. Thank you.
Vanessa, this is Maureen. So I am on, and I'll try to get the screens up. Can you hear me?
Yep, Maureen, this is Jen. I can hear you, and I have my screen ready to share.
Okay. My problem is I don't have your screen, so
okay.
So if you just tell me what's on the screen, and we'll go from there.
That sounds good. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for your patience. This is COE's Connect, Discover, and Learn. I'm going to get us right into the good stuff today. And without hesitation, here's our president, Ms. Maureen Hoyler. And
Well, thank you. I apologize as well for the problems with our technology, but we have great news in that the Department of Education released within the last couple of hours the frequently asked questions, and I think they have the answers that we need. So they may not be the answers that you want, but they are the answers that I think you need. So I believe it is a 10-page document. Most of it is not what we're going to spend today on, but we're going to turn immediately to page 7, number 13. And just for the sake of it, is that what's on the screen right now?
Yep, yes it is.
Okay, so this is what is absolutely necessary that everybody understand. 13, will there be any waivers to prior approval requirements? And then the answer is, while under normal circumstances, grantees are required to obtain prior approval from their program specialist before making changes in the program or allocation of funds under 200-407D. As a result of the significant disruptions caused by COVID-19, the department is exercising its authority under the OMB Memorandum 2017 and will temporarily waive the prior approval requirement for the programs covered by this guidance. And so if you go to the top of the guidance, you'll see that it United States Department of Education, Office of Post-Secondary Programs, frequently asked questions, and it clearly covers the TRIO programs. So they are waiving. You do not need anything you would normally need prior approval for. You don't need prior approval for. That doesn't, that they are still required, they are still expecting you to notify your program officers. Grantees must notify the program specialist of any change. I'm a little bit ahead of myself, okay? And will temporarily waive the prior approval requirement for the programs covered by this guidance during the period March 13th, 2020 through September 3rd, 2020. So everything you're doing with your summer programs, if you're in Upward Bound or in your talent search, these prior approval requirements are waived. You don't have to wait to get approval to do anything. Grantees must notify the program specialist of any changes to the project activities or budgets prior to making them, and should retain appropriate documentation to support those changes, which must be reported. So now, obviously, you can't notify them of everything because it's since March 13th and they didn't get out this till June. So you want to start making your changes, implementing your program, and then towards the end of your program, notify your program specialist of the changes that you have made. The other one that I really want to go over, because I think this is the one that is causing Upward Bound programs the biggest issue, is meals. And meals is, I had it a minute ago, and Jen, you have meals as well, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm
It's
not sure which number it is.
Number 6, it should be, I believe.
Okay.
I don't think it's number 6.
Can you type it do Control F and type in meals.
Oh, no, it's number 16. Can TRIO projects provide meals to students? As a result of COVID-19 related disruptions and consistent with the CARES Act, the department may permit projects funded under TRIO programs to provide meals to participants. It does say may, okay, but you remember that they're waiving prior approval requirements, so you don't need to wait to get approval to provide meals, including students engaged in project activities provided through distance learning or other virtual means. In the event meals are to be provided to students who are not physically in attendance for TRIO activities, the grantee must request approval from the department. Again, you have to request approval in the end when you request approval, but you're not requesting approval today and waiting for that approval. What they're saying here is that they're going to give you approval, and they can't guarantee that they're going to give it to you in time for you to get your program underway. So when you're getting all your records together, you want to have submitted to the department that you provided a virtual program, and as part of that virtual program, you provided lunch or you provided luncheon and breakfast and how you documented your payment of those meals. Let's go through some other things, and let's take some time to answer some questions, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Where would you like me to go?
so if we go, Jen, I'm sorry.
Would you like me to start at the top, Maureen?
Yeah, so I'm going to skip most of these because most of you don't have questions about these things, but essentially they say under salaries that the payment of salaries is allowable even if staff are unable to work from home due to the nature of the approved activities. Okay, so number 2, if the institution is paying student workers and paying graduate student stipends, should the institution, yes, they should continue to pay student workers and graduate students. Number 3, what type of documentation is required to account for time and attendance? A grantee and sub-grantee must obtain appropriate records and cost documentation. You've always had to do that. Project should log time that staff is working off-site, for example, through email, conference call logs. Just keep logs of when people are working. 4 electronic signatures are allowable. Virtual activities, number 5, are allowable. The second paragraph, the department strongly encourages projects to consider innovative ways in which to continue to provide services. It's important to look at the next paragraph of projects cannot conduct virtual activities. Then the department will evaluate the ability of the project to resume activities. Number 6, what is the expectation of providing services to participants if participants are enrolled at schools that are closed? Generally, they want you to do virtual activities. If you can't do virtual activities, they want you to look at what your institution is doing and talk with your program specialist. Is it permissible to reallocate money from to purchase electronic devices such as laptops or tablets for students to be able to? Yes, it's permissible. In many cases, it's permissible. You would want them to say, yes, it's permissible. You would want them not to put in many cases. But you know that by publishing these FAQs, they can't have one program specialist saying it is permissible and the next one saying it's not permissible. And of course, that's if that happens, that's COE's job is to represent you and your institution. But that's why it's so important to not to be fully committed to the understanding that you don't need prior approval. What options does a grantee have if they originally proposed to operate a residential or non-residential summer, but now unable? The department encourages to consider substituting virtual summer programs. The no-cost extension is applicable to student support services and not to the pre-college programs. The department anticipates making, and you're not NCC awards, and it says the same thing that we've been saying. They'll review your annual performance report for the 18-19 year. You're not necessarily governed by 18 about tuition carryover.
And then we're back to 13
again,
approval. Yeah.
We're back to 13. 14, again, they've given us the guidance that they're not going to put a limit on carryover. Upward bound and upward bound math science under 15. They allow stipends for participants who are enrolled in post-secondary classes. The department is aware that many are providing distance learning options. For all other TRIO programs, while direct financial support is not allowed under HEA, additional flexibilities that could include direct financial support to participants. However, based on these flexibilities, we'll consider requests from other TRIO grant to provide such support to students 18 and older. Again, this is probably something that's not going to help you. Again, we still have the request to increase stipends and to provide stipends in talent search. I don't think these questions necessarily are the end to that issue of the stipends that we went over on the last CDL. So why don't we go to the questions, Jen, if we have questions, and then we can go from there.
Sure. The only question right now is, where do we find the Department of Ed FAQs? Has this been published?
We haven't looked at the website, but we'll send it out through our normal ways of sending it out to our entire list, and we'll ask the listserv to send it out to everybody as well, and we'll post it on our website. We'll get those out today. You might not get them today, but you'll definitely get them by tomorrow.
Another participant said, I just got one by email from Ed.
Okay, and I think Ed is, I'm not sure how they're sending them out, if they're sending them out by program specialist or if they're sending them out by branch chief.
Yeah, folks are chiming in, program offices are emailing them out. I received several emails. When should programs notify the program specialist of the change in activities?
After they're done with the program activities that they need to have done. You don't want to get into a discussion of, you don't want to have each of you has had to plan your summer program. Each of you has had to plan it without this guidance. So you want to carry it out, at least get into carrying it out before you notify your program specialist as to what you're doing, and to have some experience in doing it so that you can tweak it to the extent that you're carrying it out. Let me see if I can say that in a more intelligent fashion and Jen and Vanessa, please join in on this. So you typically serve 50 students in your summer program. You have redone your summer program, and you include you include what your daily schedule is. You include greet-ups for the students. You include peer counseling that is taking place through telephone calls. You include 7 different things. You include some fun activities, some celebrations, but you haven't tried any of that yet. Or if you started your summer program this week, you are just trying it. So you're going to be tweaking that. So at the point where you're comfortable at what you're doing, that's when you notify your program officer as to what you did, not just in your summer program, but what you did from March 13th to the end of your grant period. So through September 30th, or if you're a June 1 start, through September 30th to May 31st. But don't go notifying your program officer today. Remember, it took them 3 months to get this out. So it's certainly reasonable to expect it to take you 4 weeks in your institution to take you, because you're going to include not just you're going to include not just words, so you're a Word document, but how your budget changed as a result of what you're doing.
That makes sense, Maureen. A couple other questions. I have PT hourly staff, part-time hourly staff who are working less than 25% of their normal shifts due to COVID. Now the FAQs say we can pay them. Should we try to back pay?
Yes.
Any word on stipends for talent search?
Stipends for talent search is not answered in this. We're going to continue to press the department on raising the stipends for Upward Bound and raising the stipends and providing stipends in talent search.
And then do you have information about the lower number of participants specifically for EOC?
This is really not, I think people really need to understand that this is not just lowering the numbers. This is really a question of renegotiating their program, both for 1920 and 2021. This does say, and I'll see if I can find it, where they indicate that this has to be done, that people have to, that the department understands that given the disruption, that things are disrupted. But just like we waited for a while to get this just answers to these questions, now what we have to do as a organized trio is to get information to people about the stipends. We have to get an answer on stipends. And we also have to get information to people about the parameters under which they're going to renegotiate. So are they going to allow you to, are they going to allow people to eliminate or to drop their number by 50%, 75%, so that one program officer can't say, oh yes, you can drop yours by 50%, and the next one says you can only drop yours by 5%. So that's the next set of things that we as an organized group of people, of professionals, have to work with the department on.
Okay, there's a couple of questions specifically for Upward Bound. How are meal funds best distributed to students? Can a lump sum be sent up front?
Well, again, you know, there's always the issue of reasonableness. So let's say you said, I'm going to give everybody $30 a day. And so I'm going to give everybody $150 a week for 6 weeks. That's $900. And you send the check for $900 and it's cashed, and the student doesn't participate in anything in the summer program. Was it reasonable to give them $900 ahead of time? Now, would it have been reasonable to give them $150 and then to give them another $150 after they've participated for 2 weeks? Again, you want to discuss that with your program office, not your program offices, with your institution. But if I were the person you were discussing it with at the institution, I would raise the concern about just sending out a check with no guarantee or with no ability to assure that a student would actually participate in your summer program.
One
So it's
comment.
it's difficult to do that. I mean, it's going to be more difficult to send out a a debit card or send out a check, that's good to do it weekly or to do it every 2 weeks. But is it worth the additional effort for the institution to do it to make sure that students are participating? Again, that differs from institution to institution. I don't think that there's one right answer to that.
One comment says, we have hired a catering service to provide daily delivery of fresh meals. It's a great idea. I'm not sure I understand this question by an anonymous attendee. How will this guidance impact plans that Upper Bound has to provide work study to all Upper Bound participants this summer?
It says essentially anything that's allowed by the regulations, work study is allowed by the regulations, go ahead and do it. Even if your program officer said you can't do it, prior approval is not required. So again, it's really important to know your authority, and this gives you even more authority in saying you don't need to act, you don't need to wait for an answer before you act.
And this is on the same line. This one says, please discuss what is acceptable for the UB work study stipends. Many folks were discussing the virtual job shadow.
What I said in my note to each of the Upward Bound directors, you're an educational institution. You run an educational program. Who is to tell you that you can't develop a work study program that meets just like any other service learning program that your institution is providing to regular undergraduates? This is not, nobody says those students have to clock in. Nobody says we're going to come and check whether that, again, you have to be confident in your ability to design a curriculum. Do they come in and tell you what your math program should look like? No, probably, just like me, their math is probably not good. So they can't tell you what your work study program should look like either. It's your institution that provides the guarantee that you have a quality work study program, that it's a genuine program, that it's not am I saying this correctly? Is there anyone who wants to?
I think you're right, Maureen. I think we're only limited by our creativity and what we can put together for our students in terms of work study. I think it's important that folks really make sure that their learning outcomes for their students with their work study program match what their goals are with the Upper Bound program, and then be confident and go forward and provide a great experience for your students. I think it's as simple as that.
And for example, if you think that one of the learning outcomes is you really want students to learn about time and effort and checking in and checking out, well, then you make that part of it a component. If you want writing reports of experiences to be a part of their work study, as you and I have to do every day in our job, well, then you make that a part of it. you, as Jen said, you figure out what are the outcomes that you want, and you provide a work study program that provides those outcomes, and that has meat in it. That has demands of students. But you're the ones that define the demands. The Congress was confident enough in you that it didn't say, and the department, in fact, was confident enough in you that it didn't say you have to lay out what this work study program is. So the idea that you would have to meet a departmental expectation of what a good work study program is, they are not they don't adjudicate that issue.
There's another comment about work study as defined in the regs can be seen as a paid internship. And you're correct. That was one of the pieces that was given in the work study, upward bound work study webinar. Sometimes the term work study can be confused on a college campus with the federal work study program. And so there were some of our presenters that were calling it the upward bound internship. And I think whatever you call it internally can be fine. It's important that your documentation uses the words out of the regulations. And again, that regulation, we're talking about 645.12E, that work study definition. So as long as your internal documentation cites your correct wording, what you call it to your program participants and your institution can make sense on a different level too. And internship is just fine. Maureen, can you talk about, or do you have any information about programs that won't be able to meet the participation number?
So again, it goes to the issue of renegotiating your objectives and your numbers. So we're talking, hopefully we're not talking about upward bound. We're not talking that an upward bound program doesn't serve at least 90% of the students that it was funded to serve in the 1920 year, because the regulations state that if you don't serve at least 90% of the students you were funded to serve, this is the programming don't have to get prior experience points for that year. With Talent Search, but even with Upward Bound, other aspects of your objectives may need to be renegotiated. There may be issues about no tests being given this year. There may be issues of college placement going down because because enrollment of low-income first-generation students is expected to. So it's not simply the number. In Talent Search, there is the expectation that the number of students and EOCs, the numbers will have to be renegotiated down, probably for certainly for 1920, probably for 2021 as well. And but again, even with Talent Search and EOC, the placements in college, those things may have to be renegotiated down. So now COE on your behalf has to work with the department to develop some guidelines as to what are the parameters that those negotiations will take place under.
I think you just answered this question about our objective percentages being lowered, so I'll dismiss that one. May we purchase devices and incentives to increase participation in summer programs?
Well, remember, if we look at the language of that they never use the word incentive, okay? They never say incentive. They say you can purchase devices in order to, whether those are laptops or whether those are tablets. Now, But what do they use as the language for that? Number 7, is it permissible to reallocate money from line items to purchase electronic devices such as laptops or for students to be able to continue to receive services and participate? Yes, in many cases it's permissible. Again, they use the language, but you have to notify your program specialist to explain the reallocation. But they don't say, oh, we're doing it as an incentive. They say we're doing it so that students can continue to receive services and participate in project activities. So you want to use the same language. You want to say, we're going to, now maybe you're saying, I'm not going to give this Chromebook or this tablet unless a student participates in X number of activities, let's say for a talent search program. But you want to use the thinking that they're using.
And this is a clarifying.
Am I making sense?
You are. Devices are for student use only, not ownership, correct?
Well, remember, these are supplies. They're consumable supplies. So that if you give a Chromebook to somebody and you're going to continue to have that student use that tablet or that laptop through the foreseeable future, whether you're not expected to be able to account for every Chromebook or every laptop you purchase as a supply. But they have never utilized the word, they have not utilized the word that you can give. So in your language, with your program specialist, when you do say that you've done this, I would say that you provided these to students in order that they can participate in program activities. And, you know, if a student drops out of the program, you should make a request that they return what it is. But again, you're not accountable. It's a supply. It's a consumable. That doesn't have a value. It's not, you know, I'm going to talk about this from an auditor's point of view. If it was equipment, then it goes on the institution's balance sheet. And so them not being able to say where that equipment is means that their balance sheet is a lie, essentially. They can't prove, they can't say that the cash that they said they had and the equipment they said they had and the buildings they said they had. But if you buy supplies, they don't go on the balance sheet. And so an auditor doesn't come and look and say, well, where is the paper that you said you bought? And where are the pens that you said you bought? Things that are supplies are not audited.
Okay, switching gears a little bit. Will there be another round of FAQs? And if so, when?
I don't think there'll be another round of FAQs. I think there'll be two things that we will be pushing for. We will be pushing for a response on the stipend questions that the COE board submitted to the department, and we will be pushing for parameters for the renegotiation of 1920 and 2021 budgets.
And if we do get stipends for talent search, will they give us money for that?
No, you're not going to get any more money.
Without a vaccine, should we plan for virtual field trips and seminars in the fall?
That really depends on where you are and what your institution is doing. Again, when you get this 10-page piece, it really defers to your institution and says you should be looking to what your institution and your schools are doing and plan accordingly. If your school district is not having athletics, if it is not taking students on a bus except every other seat, then you want to do the same thing. If, on the other hand, you're in a part of the country where things have opened up more than they have in some other places, maybe you can do it. Again, you've got to look to what your institution is doing with their own students. Don't ever let, and again, this is my opinion, don't ever let your students be the guinea pigs for your institution. So if they're not bringing students together in the dormitories or in the unions to feed people, well, then you don't want to do that with your students. If, on the other hand, they've safely done that, then you can follow and do what they've safely done, whether your school districts are doing it or whether your institution is doing it. But you want to follow exactly what your institution and your school districts have safely done.
Okay, just to clarify, UBMS programs are no longer included in the conversation about reducing numbers served and basing numbers served on 1819 APR.
No, that's not correct. All programs there's two issues that relate to the number of served. One is substantial progress. The other is prior experience. Under substantial progress, the department is continuing every project that in 1819 served at least 85% of the students that it served. Now, typically, it wouldn't do that. Typically, in the middle of this year, somewhere around March, they would have looked to institutions that were not looking like they were going to meet their numbers for 1920 and considered terminating them. Okay, they're not doing that. For Talent Search, EOC, Upward Bound Math Science, they are going to fund everybody for 2021. Okay. However, in the regulations on prior experience, and I'll see if I can pull them up, it also indicates that that you don't qualify for prior experience points unless you serve 90%, not 85%, 90% of the students you were funded to serve. So if you cannot, if you are not going to serve, if you're not going to serve 90% of the students you were funded to serve, you have to renegotiate your numbers and your objectives. It's absolutely clear that Talent Search and EOCs are going to have to reduce their numbers. It's less true that it is clear across the board that Upward Bound is going to have to reduce their numbers, because over the course of the months from September through March, most Upward Bound programs have met their numbers, in part because they don't have rolling admissions. Most do not have rolling admissions like Talent Search and EOCs do. Is that clear or is that muddy?
It's clear to me. Some EOCs were asked to submit our numbers for substantial progress last week. Can you speak to that and rationale for doing so if our progress will be based on performance from last grant years?
I will raise that with senior leadership. It is, they have already stated that they're doing substantial progress on 1819 numbers. Is it possible that you didn't meet your 85% in 1819? That would be, if you are one of those that was asked to submit those numbers, would you send me or Angelica Villapondo a email that gives the number to be served and the number that you served in 1819? That could be an explanation. I'm not saying it is an explanation. and also give us the name of your program officer.
Okay, thank you. These might be some quick ones left here, and then we can figure out what we want to do with the rest of our time. So any word yet on the SSS grant award for 2021?
Yes, they expect them to be they're on target to come out in the beginning of July.
Any word on the talent search competition or EOC competitions forthcoming?
I actually had a conversation about that this morning, and they are hoping to meet for talent search the timetable they met with Student Support Services, which would mean that the applications would be due in, I think they were due the 22nd of January. So in not before the 15th of January, but towards the end of January. And that's a plug. I should put a plug in here. COE is doing its first talent search and EOC proposal writing workshop towards the end of this month. And you can, if you're an institutional member, you definitely can sign up for that. It's going to be what a surprise! It's going to be a virtual prior experience. I'm sorry, it's going to be a virtual talent search EOC proposal writing workshop. I'm looking at the information on prior experience, and so it's point 22 of your regulations. The secretary does not award prior experience points for a given year to an applicant that does not serve at least 90% of the approved number of participants. So that's an additional reason that those who have not served 90%, and that's the vast majority of talent search and EOC programs, need to renegotiate their objectives.
Okay. There's one last question. I think it came up while you were talking about purchasing computers for participation. And the question is, how would that jive with the per participant allocation?
Well, there's nothing about a per participant allocation that says you have to spend the same amount of money on every person. Some people may need a computer and some people may not need a computer. You may be deciding to give people computers that are participating in certain activities because they can't participate in those activities without a computer or a tablet. Again, you don't give tutoring to somebody so that everybody gets the same amount of tutoring, but you have to have a rationale for why you're providing these supplies to certain people and not to other people.
One more question popped up, which I think is kind of interesting. If an SSS is not funded, will we get an extension to close out, as well as can we ask for extended funds?
You won't get any extended funds. You will get extended time. You won't get extended money. You got to understand how they operate. We get an appropriation. The Department of Education is authorized under our statute to take 0.5% of 1% of the appropriation to use for administrative costs. They spend every other cent, maybe a few more cents than they get in a year, because they can go in a little bit to the next year's allocation. That's part of the reason the June 1 upward bound programs haven't gotten the percent increase they're going to get, because they want to make sure that the Student Support Services slate, which will have more Student Support Services programs on it than are currently funded, that once they announce that slate, then they can divide up the money and make sure everybody else gets that it equals out, that they have enough money to fund everything. But they spend all the money. It's not as if they have money left in their back pocket to meet individual project needs. They may have set aside a little bit of money for some exceptional things that they see, but essentially their job, just like your job, is to spend the money so that as many students can get effective services as they can.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Maureen, that looks like about it for the question and answer. We have Kayvon Henry here to present to us too. Did you want to say anything in closing of your time?
No, but thank you all. We're delighted that you were on for you got some information. We were worried about having this CDL this week, since as of this morning we had less information than we would have liked to give you. So I'm so grateful that we were able to that you joined us today, and that you continue to connect with COE. And please know that we're going to continue to get the information you need on renegotiated objectives, on renegotiating your numbers, on the stipends. You deserve an answer, and it's only by the kind of pressure that we as an organized group can provide on the department that we can get that you can get those answers. So thank you for everything you're doing for your students. Thank you. And I'm going to stick on this, so if at the end there's anything else that arises, I'll be on this. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maureen. All right, without further ado, we have Ms. Kayvon Henry. I'll let her introduce herself. We asked her to present to us today on how to create connections between upper bound programs, how to share the wealth, how to take down the barriers that some might find in this virtual setting. Ms. Kayvon, take us away.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today. Thank you for having me, Jen, Maureen, COE. And I echo what Maureen shared. Thank you all. If you feel like how I feel these past 2 weeks, these past, 11, 12 weeks, keep pushing through, right? Our students need us, their families need us, and we're doing the work that a lot of people won't do, can't do, so thank you. Again, my name is Kayvon Henry. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Jen, keep me on task, because you know I love to talk, so I could definitely talk for another hour, but I'm excited about the information that was shared just now, because I think a lot of us have been asking these questions, seeking information, planning and hoping that the Department of Ed will be able to provide some guidance. But remember, they can only tell us what's allowable, what's not. They can answer those aerial view questions, but in practice, we can answer those questions. And so that's what I'm here to talk about today. So let's get started. All right. So this is not my last slide. This is actually my first slide, and I did that on purpose because I always forget to say who I am, talk about what I do, and how you can contact me. Again, my name is Kayvon Henry. I'm the Assistant Director for Pre-College Programs with the David T. Kern Center at the University of Rochester in Rochester, New York. I'm here representing the Association for Equality and Excellence in Education, also known as AEEE. That is my work cell. That is my email address. Please be patient with me, but feel free to contact me. Texting is probably the best way to go. So if you have any questions after what I share, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. All right, let's get started. All right, why can't I? There you go. So the title of my talk today is how the insert here village responded, right? And so I purposely put insert here there because this is for anybody. I'm here talking about how AEEE responded to this year of disruption, to COVID, interfering in our plans. But really, this could be how the TRIO village responded, how the COE village responded, how our Black and brown folks are out there in those streets and our allies are responding to what is happening today. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. So I remember where I was when we got this message. All schools closed. And I don't know about y'all, but I immediately became panicked. But I was panicked about 2 weeks prior to schools actually closing, because most of my background is in public health. And I am fully aware of how quickly, right, without intervention, how quickly viruses, diseases, all of that stuff can spread. And our schools are breeding grounds just because of the proximity to which we work with each other for things like this. So I was already trying to figure out, how am I going to pull my team? right? How am I going to protect that village? However, I don't want it to be perceived as if we are abandoning our students. But I'm fully aware of what we need to do. But I didn't have to mull on it too long because eventually my governor, he spoke up. Governor Cuomo, he said, you know what? We're going to pause. We're going to try to address this the right way. But yeah, schools are closed. So what are we to do next? Well, we knew that we needed to act. By law, we are required to provide these services. I think right after that announcement came, like mid-March, policy seminar was like the end of March. So it already armed me and my team with the courage, the language that we needed to figure out what we needed to do, which was to protect the progress that we had already started, right? Generations of progress. So every service we had to provide, we needed to figure out how to get it up and online. And we were just gonna do it, right? Do it and figure out the rest later. And in fact, we were able to create some new things, right? Based on what our students needed. Art club, book club, along with everything else that we are supposed to provide. And then here we are. So as we're trying to figure it out as we go, I started to get the phone calls. And I was like, whoa, why are y'all calling me? I don't have any answers to the questions. I was actually about to call you. Who on my contact list? Which one of my trio greats was going to be able to help me figure out how to do this? Because this has never been done before, at least not in my lifetime. And so here we are, right? We have this network that I think a lot of us, sometimes we forget that we're not in this alone, right? The same questions that I have, somebody else has it. The same problems that we're trying to troubleshoot, somebody else is trying to do that, whether it's within my association and my regional association or somewhere else. Because TRIO, despite what it looks like on the ground, the goal is the same. So I started to figure out who I could reach out to, but they started reaching out to me first. And that blew up, okay? Every time I got a question, I was like, this has to be something that I'm supposed to be trying to figure out on my end for my students and for my team. So let me take that down, right? But then the questions just became a lot, and we started to realize that there was clearly a need for folks to gather and folks to figure some things out together. And so my president, Ms. Jakesha Wiley, she called, she asked the question, she said, hey, Kiv, can you host some roundtable talks for the Upward Bound folks in the region, just to get us together to be at least discussing the updates that were coming from COE, discussing the updates or lack thereof that were coming from the Department of Education, to figure out how to navigate the bureaucracies that our institutions have. And so we put out the call. She asked the question first though, right? And I was like, sure, I'll do whatever you need me to do, partly for selfish reasons, right? There's information that I need to get to, so let's do it. Let's do it. But I didn't know that it was going to become what it has become. And a part of that is partly to what Maureen is speaking about right now, right? So we didn't have the guidance. We weren't getting our questions answered. And I don't know about all of you, I'm a planning fanatic, and I need time. I need time, I have big ideas, but I just wanna make sure that I'm doing it right. So we started to, every Friday, get together, and I'm proud to say that we've probably averaged about 30 to 40 folks on every call. That probably represents about 10 to 12 programs in our region, right? Not 100% participation, but the folks that needed the space, they were there. And here we are, 7 weeks later, and we're still going on strong. We took a break last week because we just needed a break. But folks are chatting, they're connecting, they are, we are clearly proof that with enough pressure, some diamonds actually can be created, right? We're taking more risks together. We are providing more quality services together. We have increased our presence on social media together. And that word that Maureen has been mentioning all day, that confidence, we have increased our confidence as a unit together, right? Our advocacy efforts have increased. Our institutional memberships have increased, right? We've provided a space because people were yearning, and it has been successful to date. And so here we are, stronger together. I'm corny, I apologize, but an hour a week, an hour of our time, that's all we've spent together on a Friday morning, has kept our confidence as a TRIO nation as AEEE, as the pre-collegiate programs within AEEE, has kept our confidence at its peak. And these are some of the things that we have discussed, some of the very things that Maureen just parsed through in those FAQs, right? We became the answers to the questions, partly because we know what it looks like on the ground. So you're talking about folks who have worked in TRIO for over 30 years, having conversation with folks who have been in TRIO for less than 5, right? So you're talking about innovation, creativity, folks who know the legs and regs like the back of their hand. And these are the things that we've been able to piece together. Talking about creative solutions to these disruptions. What are you doing with technology? Oh my gosh, I can't do a YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, nothing. But members have stepped up to create tutorials for folks to be able to engage with our students in the ways that they are most engaging. Talking about parent engagement. We've even been able to have a representative from Kaplan come in and talk about the test cancellations and what that looks like post-COVID. We were even blessed to have Jen join us, okay, AEEE, join us on some of these calls to talk about the creation of work-study programs, to talk about the language that we need to use when we walk into these, well, we're not walking anywhere, but when we talk to our budgets and grants offices, talking about how we are going to feed our students this summer. Yeah, it says may, but we understood that as must. And so we came together to talk about the different things that folks are doing to make it work. And what kind of, I guess, organically came out of these conversations? How can we work together? I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of my Upward Bound students telling me that they didn't know that there were other students in the program in Upward Bound nationally that are white. And so it's very important for us to connect our students to each other, right? So what we're doing is, now that we have worked together to figure out the back end, how can we come together to get our students together? Because we think that our students are the only ones that we're worried about not engaging. Everybody's having that issue. So if my student saw your student who also attends the same school district, oh, they see another New York TRIO scholar, oh, a New Jersey TRIO scholar, oh, we're all struggling with this together, maybe they would be more encouraged to participate as well. So we're hoping that by modeling how we can work together, they will work together minimally to encourage each other to participate. So we're planning a lot of things, and I'm not planning anything. I have just been facilitating conversation, connecting people to people. Members are stepping up to lead these planning efforts, because I told you we only meet once a week on Fridays. So some work has to happen outside of the space that we are providing. But I'm proud and I'm excited to see what we come up with. Actually, this Friday, folks are going to present what they came up with. Every group was challenged with creating one event that all of our students could participate across programs, across state lines. So let's see what happens. But really, I think the question that everybody wants to know is, well, what happens next, right? I don't know, but I can't wait to find out, because fall 2020 is coming. And we already know, if you are paying attention to your local school districts, that the school year is going to look very different. So what we're able to provide is already going to be different. But I'm tired of responding to things. I would rather us as a TRIO nation lead these efforts, because we know that our students are always left behind. So we need to keep them at the forefront of every conversation as it pertains to education and the disruptions that have been caused by COVID. So I'm going to continue to connect people to people. I'm going to continue to provide this space so that we are able to continue to have those conversations. And let me tell you something, this summer, we will, together as a unit, be talking about what we're doing in the fall. So ultimately, it's all worked out. And I'm just reminding you all that you're not alone. You're not alone. So even if your association has not brought folks together in a big way, you can reach out to the programs that are right in your backyard. There are three programs that serve students in the Rochester City School District. Right here, we're in my backyard. And so I minimally should be working with them, talking to them to figure out how we do this together. And thank you. That's all I have. And I welcome any questions, comments, anything.
Thank you, Kayvon. You did an excellent job. You did an excellent job. I'm not seeing I'll leave another minute for questions to come up. Maureen, I don't know if you have anything else that you wanted to say today. There is one question about, even if SSS is funded, can it ask for a no-cost extension?
That's what this guidance is saying. And let me look again at the number. In this guidance, it'll take me a second to pull it up.
Okay. While we're waiting for Maureen, you'll see in the chat, there's a link to the proposal writing workshops that are happening for Talent Search and EOC. You can check the COE website for all the information that you're looking for in other webinars. You can always email Angelica Villalpando, Vanessa, or myself if you have any questions. Don't hesitate to reach out.
So it's number 9. Will the department approve no-cost extension request that will continue with its current policy, which is not its policy in student support service, in TRIO, but it is its policy, which allows grantees to request a one-time no-cost extension as authorized in the section that you all are tired of me quoting, of 200.3088D2. You have to do it 10 days before August 31st. So you don't want to do it now. You want to wait till the beginning of August, so that I'd say the beginning of August, but you certainly don't want to do it now to request a no-cost extension, because you want to have a really good sense of how much money you're going to have. And then you're going to have to tell them, do I want it through December? Do I want it through March? What do you want it through? In student support services, again, in Upward Bound and Talent Search and EOCs, you don't need a no-cost extension. It's carryover, and they are allowing carryover with no maximum. So you're still going to have to submit a budget that has the carryover included. So COE will be doing some. I think we're about to announce some workshops on budgets, so that you can figure out how to put the money that you would be carrying over into your budget. So thank you all again for joining us. Good luck with your summer programs. Good luck in Upward Bound, Talent Search, and EOC. I hope you're continuing to figure out ways to serve your clients. They need you more than ever right now. So thank you so much. Thanks, Jen and Vanessa, for making this all work.
Yes, have a great day, everyone. Take care.
Bye.